Hello, and welcome back to another episode in this Dwarf Fortress tutorial series with me, the Moocher Mouse. And in this episode, we are going to create a new world, and we're going to select an embark site in that world. So this is the Dwarf Fortress UI game you come into, the menu. You have a few options here. If you've never started the game before or never created a world, you don't have continue playing, but I have that since I've played it before. So what you're going to need to do is create a new world. Now it's going to load up a lot of stuff. Looks like the Matrix at this point. But soon enough you're going to get into this sort of customization of your world. Now this is the default. It creates a medium-sized world. It creates it with medium history, medium number of civilizations, medium, sparse. I usually play with this setting, where I get mineral occurrence to go everywhere, just because I like having options. I like having lots of minerals. It makes it more fun. It makes it easier for me to do things, easier to find good embark sites to go. Now, by no means, this game doesn't get easy by having lots of minerals. It might help you on the way, but there's still no guarantee that you will embark on a place that has iron. Or that has the capability to make steel. So minerals is like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of minerals, but it's still going to be difficult. Now the thing that makes it take the longest to calculate or to generate the world is history. So by changing the amount of history you have, determines very much how long the world generation takes. Default it is set to medium. I like medium. It's 250 years. Now very short is 5 years. Short is 125. So on. You can see the number changing down here. I would recommend medium if you're a first-time player. It's going to take a while to generate the history of the world, but it's going to be worth it. The thing that actually changes by doing 5 years is that you will have fewer people in the world, because it hasn't had time to grow as much yet. So like the longer you have, the more people you're going to have, the more civilizations you're going to have, the more monsters or big monsters you're going to have. Like dragons take forever to grow up, so there's very little chance of getting full-grown dragons at 5 years, right? So I'm just going to leave it at medium, and we're going to say go. We hit Y. You can see the sort of keyboard input you need to put in here, and there we go. It's making a world for us. So what it's doing now is that it first generates an actual world, like physical terrain, elevation, temperature, rivers, and then it goes for lakes and minerals. And this does take a little while. And you can hear SoundSense actually kicked up some music for us in the background. It usually does that. And then it jitters around a little bit like that, and you can now see it's populating the world, because it's now calculating 250 years of history for this world. So this will take a little bit, but we are going to put a cut in here and skip ahead till the terrain generation is done, or the world gen is done, and then we will be back to select an embark site in the world we have. So now a brand new world has been made for us, and 250 years of history has been calculated. This took me probably 10 to 15 minutes for my computer to generate this. Yours might take longer or shorter, depending on your setup. So what we see in front of us here is the world map. It shows us the continent. It's probably a little bit more of the world on the top and bottom here that we can't see yet, but this is basically a zoomed out version of the world. Looks a bit like the Matrix, but anyone can see with a little imagination, that these are mountains, these are forests, these are desert areas, and all of this brown thing is, well, brown stuff. I don't know how to call it. But you also see these blue lines, which indicate major rivers. You'll see these brown lines, which indicate roads, and the omegas here that symbolize something. The white omegas, at least, are cities, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think they are cities. Doesn't really matter. So what we want to do now is we want to hit enter to accept. And then it's going to offload units, which also might take a little while. So we will put in a little bit of a jump cut here as well. So we are back, and the game has now offloaded all its units and done all that stuff, and you have a new option called Start Playing. Start Playing only appears here when you have a region created that you don't have an active save game in. Otherwise it is Continue Playing. But Start Playing will let you embark into the world you created. Start Playing can also appear if you have a region where you had a fortress, it has been abandoned, or you have retired it for some reason. Then you can re-embark on that same world, so you don't actually have to do the world gen every time. But we're just going to go into Start Playing here, and we will see we have 3 options available. I'll quickly tell you about them because you probably want to know. But we're going to choose Dwarf Fortress. Now, Dwarf Fortress is the fortress building mode, where you control 7, or you embark with 7 dwarfs, and you have to build a fortress or an outpost for the glory of your dwarven nation. Now, adventure mode is sort of a roguelike where you play one person of any race in the game, and there are a bunch of races in the game, but you play one person and you roam around on your own, picking up quests, talking to people, and it makes for terrifically good stories. Legends is sort of not a game mode at all. It offloads your region so that you could use a different tool that's included in the Lazy Noob pack as well, called DF Legends, where you can load the world up in Windows UI, and you can read through the history and browse through the various interactions and what has happened, look at events and all that stuff. But once you take a save game into Legends, or a region into Legends, it's not playable anymore. So keep that in mind. But we're going to start with Dwarf Fortress, and then it's going to load up the region that we just made. This doesn't take quite as long as the other one, so I probably won't put a cut in here. I'll rather tell you about this screen, which now shows us the months of the year. There are 28 days in each month, and they are spring, summer, fall, and winter, indicated by green, yellow, red, and white. And you can see we are now moving. We're on 6th now, on 7th and 8th, soon of Granite. This is updating the world and simulating some history and travel time for your dwarfs, where they spent 2 weeks, basically, traveling into the wilderness to whatever embark site you are eventually going to select in the next stage. So that is what's happening here. But you also get a little overview of the month. There's no reason to, there we go, no reason to remember all of those months. It's just, it is what it is. So here, we are now into the world. Quickly and explain to you what you're seeing here. On the right-hand side, we have a name of where we are. We have some information about this area, including sort of what kind of biome it is, what temperature, how much trees there are, other vegetation, the surrounding, the river that's here, or the brook, and some about the ground as well. And then to the left of that, we have the world view. This is the entire world. I think I mentioned that we didn't see the entire map. You can now see we see the ice caps in the north here. We didn't see that in the previous. And then we have a zoomed in version of that, which is the region view. And then we have an even further zoomed in, which is the local view, showing us this little square here, of 4x4. And that is this X, which is the same as this X. You see it? Yeah. So we can use the arrow keys to move around on the region map. And the world map will follow us every so often. It will update to show where we are. And we can click around here and see who we find. So for instance, we look here. I'm on a place here, and you can see the omegas are completely filling up here. Like, this indicates that this is a civilization. This is a site. There's something here. And who is here? Oh, well, it's Doug E. Clorbam. Whatever the heck that is, I have no idea. But it's another civilization. So you could manually just go around the map looking at the different regions here until you find something you like. Or you could search for it, which is the better option, especially if you're a new player. Now, there are various things to look out for. Purple things are bad, okay? If you're starting out, this is your first time playing, do not embark near evil purple things. It's going to make your life difficult. Oh, cool. There's like a little island over here, which is warm. Oh, it's a volcano. I bet you anything that this is a volcano. Neat. That would be a cool place to embark, but probably not for your first time around. So in the bottom, you can see there are a bunch of controls. It tells you that movement keys control the region cursor, N to do notes, U, M, K, H for move local, which is actually, if you see in the local screen now, using U, M, K, and H, I can move sort of up, down, left, right in the region view. Now, what you need to know about the region, the local view. Now, what you need to know about the local view is that this 4x4 area we have here, that is going to be the playable map that you eventually get when you load up the game or when you select an embark site. So we have some things to move around with there. But to find an embark site, we will hit F to find a desired location. Now, the top right corner changes for us now to indicate some search parameters. Now we use the arrow keys to go up and down here. And we use the left and right to select the options here. So we're going to go with the 4x4. You could by all means lower or increase this. I don't recommend putting it any larger because, again, there's going to be more things for the computer to calculate and your FPS is going to tank sooner rather than later. If you have a little bit of a slower computer, you might want to take it down. 2x2 and 3x3 are still fairly good sizes because since they only control the height and the width of your map, you still have a lot of area to work with because Dwarf Fortress focuses on depth. So you dig down, right? But 4x4 is what I'm going to go with. I don't care about savagery, evil, elevation, temperature, or anything like this, or drainage. I do care about fluxstone layers. I want a fluxstone layer, and so do you probably as a new player. It's not the end of the world if you can't find one with fluxstone, but we'll set that to yes. Aquifers, I don't care about. We have disabled aquifers from the Lazy Noob pack, so there's not going to be any of those around anyway. I would like a river. I would like multiple shallow and deep metals. I'm going to hit deep soil, even though we might not pick one with deep soil. And clay. This is all just to give us options. So I'm going to hit enter to do search. It's searching, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about those parameters while it's searching. So basically what we ask for now is a place with fluxstone layer, a river, multiple deep and shallow metals, and deep soil and clay. So it's finding some locations that doesn't necessarily meet all those criteria, but are close enough. So why would you want a river? Well, because you want water. Why would you want shallow and deep metals? Because it's fun. Why would you want deep soil? not necessarily deep, but you would at least like some soil. Little soil would be bad because it limits the area you have for farms. And I will explain more about that in a building episode later. Clay is also just to give us options. If there's clay, great, then we can get into pottery, which will be possible export for us. What is a fluxstone layer, you might ask? A fluxstone layer is just a type of rock that can be used in a flux process to create alloys, or to help you create alloys. Which you need, if you have iron on your map, you will need fluxstone to create steel, for instance. So that is just, you want to have it available, again, just for options. But having fluxstone is by means no guarantee that you can create steel, because you still need the iron. But having the fluxstone means you could possibly then buy the iron from dwarf merchants if you so desire. And there it's done. The search is complete. So now we have completed the search. We want to browse the results, and to do that I hit escape, which lets us into this, and we need to find our cursor again, which could be pretty difficult. So I'm going to give you a little moment to find your own cursor, and if you can't find it, you might have to pause the video and look harder. I find it helps to move around, because it will be somewhere in the middle of your screen, and you can, or in the middle of the region view, if you're sort of centered on the map, and it'll help you find it. Mine is over here. And at this point, it is just a matter of browsing around on all of these X's to find somewhere you like. Little pro tip here, holding in shift jumps faster or further, so you can quickly jump around the map. Does make it more difficult to find your cursor again, I have to admit, but still, it's faster. So what I'm looking for, at least when I embark here, I am seeing this continent here, which is heavily populated. I can see a lot of roads, which means that there are going to be lots and lots of people around here. Embarking close to these might give you, will give you more neighbors and possible more neighbor interactions, but still there's going to be people up here as well, and I prefer to be a little further away from possibly everyone else. And also this place seems calmer and, well, less densely populated. So we're just looking here, okay, yeah. So look around. I have found a place where I want to embark, which is going to be here. Another thing that I look for when embarking are usually interesting geographical features, and one that I really like is this sort of T in the river. Can give you some rather nice elevation changes. Sort of make you a little inland island or plateau around the river here, because there's usually a waterfall in related to some of these. So I'm using the U, M, K, and H keys. I am browsing around here. Now, if you want to increase or decrease the size of your local here before you embark, having searched for 4x4, you could still take this down by holding in Shift and then using the U, M, K, and H keys again. So by holding Shift and doing U, it grows. Hitting M, it goes smaller. K, it goes wider. And H, it goes narrower again. Ooh. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm going to embark here, because this meets all my nice criteria. It is a temperate freshwater marsh. That's the biome. It is warm, it's a woodland, it has moderate other vegetation. That means berries, bushes, whatever you might be able to find to eat and gather. Surrounding is wilderness, which is okay. Means there's going to be some wild animals, which is good because we can hunt them. There's a stream here called something. That's abbreviated weirdly. It has sand, clay, very deep soil, shallow metals, deep metals, and a flux-stone layer. So this gives us options, definitely. So you spend whatever time, pause the video if you have to figure out where you want to do it. And I think this video is long enough for this episode. We have covered world generation, selecting the embark site. So next episode we're going to look at the actual embark setup, and what you want to bring, how I customize my setup. So if you want to copy that, be my guest. But we are just going to select this site now by hitting E, and that takes us to the embark screen, which we're going to look in the next episode. So see you in a second.